Nvidia's not showing up to their own GPU launch, Firefox betrays their users, and AMD continues to embarrass Nvidia. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're gonna be going over the hottest tech news I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast this Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. Before we get into it, I just want to acknowledge the fact that the 9070 and 9070 XT reviews are likely going live soon. We did not have access to these for review, so we will not have a review on it. However, for the first time in UFD Tech's 10-year history, we got a review out on launch day with a seeded sample from the manufacturer for the RTX 5070. Too bad that we titled the video Dead on Arrival, because compared to what AMD's promising with the RX 9000 series, the $549 price point on this bad boy just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So thank you to everybody who checked out our RTX 5070 review. It's kind of a notable moment in UFD Tech history, even if it's not a good one. But what is a good one is the fact that we are giving away another PC over on our Twitch channel. We just drew the winner for the 5090 PC this past Friday, and now we have an RTX 5080 PC giveaway that we're going to be doing with a 9800X 3D. Why not another 5090? I don't have access to any. I just don't have any more. So I have a Zotac 5080 that I can give away in a gaming PC. You want to come find out how to enter into that, twitch.tv/UFD Tech. All of that to be said, let's jump into the tech news, which is, despite the fact that, you know, I have an RTX 5070, the likelihood that you're gonna get one, besides the fact that you would want one, appears to be very slim, at least outside the US. Swedish retailers confirming that they have no day one stock of the 5070. A lot of UK retailers saying that they have no day one stock of the 5070, and kind of in a bad move. Right before the reviews for the 5070 went out, I didn't have time to address it in our video yesterday, Nvidia sent out an email to the review partners saying that they will not have their Founders Edition available for sale today like they originally expected to. Instead, it will not be coming out until sometime later in March, whatever that day is. Nvidia had a long time to prepare for the 5070. They didn't have to force this release date, and yet here we are. We have an underwhelming card that's not even going to be available for purchase a day before AMD's stuff is allegedly supposed to be wiping the floor with it. This is just appears to be an all-around bad time for Nvidia when it comes to the RTX 5070 launch. I can't think of a reason to recommend this card besides somebody really does not want to go on AMD. That's it. Like, it's just an illogical brand loyalty thing. They want the best $500 to $600 Nvidia card. It's going to be the 5070. That's what you could get if you want it brand new. But that's the only reason, is because people are just brand loyal. That would be the only thing I could recommend. And according to other retailers, this is not going to be a problem when it comes to AMD's launch tomorrow. Ample day one RX 9070 series GPU stock, which hopefully is happening because, you know, they allegedly were supposed to launch these GPUs in January, delayed 2 months. Hopefully that's given them time to ramp up the production and launch them. I would hope that would be enough of a slap in the face so that Nvidia would choose to change how they approach things moving forward. I know a lot of people in the comments like to say that Nvidia will never learn, etc., but they have changed certain things, right? Like, number one, they unlaunched the RTX 4080 12 gig. They still launched it as the RTX 4070 Ti, but because nobody bought the RTX 4080, they dropped the price $200 on the 4080 Super, and then they didn't raise the price again with the 5080, at least when it comes to the Founders Edition third-party cards being slightly different. So there are changes that happen when consumer behavior changes. It's just Nvidia doesn't ever spin it that way. They don't say people weren't buying the 4080, so we're giving you a cheaper price on the 4080 Super. That's not how they're ever gonna spin it, but in reality, that's exactly what happened. And if the 9070 and 9070 XT sell like wildfire and the 5070 continues to sit on imaginary shelves, maybe the 6070 will be slightly different, or the 5070 Super, whatever that ends up being. And whether it's the 6070 or the 5070 or any GPU in between, you know who you should check out to put that in your system. Today's video sponsor, Falcon Northwest, the pre-built company that's been around for over 3 decades that can slap your parts together, making a PC that's good for your purposes, but also create one that matches your aesthetic. Whether it's a Reece face, a charity livery, Falcon Northwest can customize anything in their Talon, their frag box, their Tiki, that's their big boy, the portable one, the mini one, which can also fit a Founders Edition 5090, or you could throw in a Threadripper workstation, adding in their incredible customer service with 3 years warranty, 1 year of overnight shipping, and speaking of their ability to customize not just the inside, but the outside of a PC, we've partnered with them to give away this one-of-a-kind Assassin's Creed Shadows gaming PC powered by Intel. So this is their Talon case. It's the exact same case that I rock at home. And this bad boy's got a 4080 Super Founders Edition in it. It's got 32 gigs of Kingston Fury Beast DDR5 RAM, a 2TB Kingston Fury Renegade M.2 SSD, a ROG Strix motherboard, and an Intel Core i7-14700K. We'll have the link in the video description for you to be able to access to find out how to win this Assassin's Creed Shadows gaming PC. Again, built by Falcon Northwest, powered by Intel, and hot news today was powered by Falcon Northwest as well. Thank you to them for sponsoring today's video, giving away a PC to one of you guys. The drawing is going to be going on until March 25th at midnight, and then we'll be announcing the winner on March 28th. So get your entries in by checking the link in the video description. And if you've been checking the link to MSI's GPU page, you might have noticed that they've changed a few things, like their GPU prices. They have unlaunched all of their MSRP RTX 50 series cards. That includes the ones that they got reviewers to review as MSRP cards, and reviewers told people that their 5070 Ti Shadow would come out at $749. That is no longer the case. It's $820. All of the early promotion that MSI got, all of the free promotion that they got for the MSRP launch, it's now all gone with all of their cards being more expensive than that. So likely there is a rational, reasonable explanation for this from a business standpoint, right? MSI certainly likely has a reason for this. Maybe it's avarice mixed with the fact that there are tariffs. However, the problem is they're not coming out and explaining why this is happening. That's part of the difficulty, is that they're jacking up the price on their MSRP cards and not telling anybody why that's happening. Is that with the looming tariffs? Is that with them just trying to figure out certain other things? Nvidia's not giving them a high enough profit margin. It's not quite clear, and they're not explaining it, and now all of the goodwill that went to the MSRP side of things is now completely gone, elevating the average price of the 5070 Ti even more, making it less of a good deal, especially if the 9070 XT review promises from AMD hold true. I don't expect that it will. I do expect it'll probably come in slightly under the 5070 Ti, and based on a certain YouTuber accidentally publishing power draw of the 9070 and 9070 XT, they will not be as efficient as Nvidia's GPUs, but regardless, performance allegedly is going to be good. But while MSI is disappointing people, so is Firefox, because after promising people that they would never sell users' data, they removed that promise from their website and added a term of use where you hereby grant them a non-exclusive, royalty-free worldwide license to use information to help you navigate, experience, and interact with online content as you indicate with your use of Firefox, which got a lot of people concerned because it sounds like, especially with the removal of the promise to never sell data, that they're looking to harvest data and then sell it. Now, this doesn't sound like they're harvesting data with the intent to sell it. This non-exclusive, royalty-free worldwide license actually sounds like they're just trying to improve Firefox. However, when you remove the fact that you're saying that you're not going to sell it, then it gets people thinking that you're going to change your behavior moving forward, which a lot of people went to Firefox because they were supposed to be the anti-Google. And Mozilla's response to this fired people up even more, because instead of saying, hey, we understand your concern, you're right, this does look shady, they instead blamed it on the people, saying that there's confusion, you don't understand, it does not give them ownership of your data, and that they need the license to make Firefox possible. So not actually addressing the issue of people being worried that they removed the promise to never sell the data, instead just talking about the privacy policy, which does not sound egregious on its own. It's the combination of those two facts that is getting people a little fired up. And people were fired up over Ayaneo canceling their Flip DS gaming handheld. This was a crowdfunded campaign that happened where allegedly got canceled mid-production, and only some units came out and the rest wouldn't, and people could get refunds. However, Ayaneo came out and explained that's not true. While they are canceling production, that is happening, that is only after they have delivered 98% of the crowdfunding orders, with only 18 orders remaining unshipped, and those 18 people can qualify for the refund and apply for it. So it looks like Ayaneo didn't really screw anybody over. They made sure to get most of their units out to their customers before shutting down production. version. They just don't want to sell the flip at retail. Looks like they fulfilled their crowdfunding commitment and don't want to go past that. However, they do explain that they might come out with a flip DS2 moving forward in the future. And Reece is going to move forward with saving you some money on tech products.
Yo, welcome back to UFD Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals out on the internet. And because that's what we do here, we're starting off with the Samsung 990 EVO Plus. With this 1TB Gen 5 NVMe M.2 SSD going for $74.99, making it $35 off. But then next up, we have the Corsair 2500X Micro ATX Dual Chamber case, going for $104.99 after the rebate, making it $55 off. And then lastly, today we have this Asus ROG Strix 27-inch 1440p 180Hz IPS gaming monitor, which is currently going for $199, making it $70 off, but also comes bundled with Monster Hunter Wilds. So if you've been wanting to pick that up, you can do two birds, one stone, and hey, good luck. And with that, the deals are done. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. But until next time, I'm gonna hand you off back to Brett for the rest of your hot news. Cheers.
Well, Reece, I don't know if this is a good deal yet, but I certainly picked one up because especially after everything that came out with Frameworks Desktop, especially with them selling the main board and kind of elevating what could happen in the custom mini ITX PC space, MinisForum is kind of beating them to the punch by releasing their BD790i X3D ITX gaming motherboard. So this thing is intriguing. It doesn't have all of the advantages that the Framework board does because the Framework board is based on Strix Halo, which has a massive GPU in it. This one has a more limited GPU, but it is based on the 7945H X3D processor, the mobile one. So you get 16 cores of a Ryzen 9 processor with 3D V-Cache, making it the fastest mobile AMD processor that's out there, but now is part of the MODT platform, or mobile on desktop. So they're selling this board by itself for what I consider a pretty reasonable price. For $600, you can get the board with the chip included. They're expecting to sell it in mid-March, and it has a ton of I/O, and especially when you consider that a 7800 X3D is about $400 to $450. A good motherboard to include that with is going to be just as expensive, especially if you're going ITX. This is a little bit cheaper than if you tried to do it on a desktop. So it does have sewed-in memory. It can go up to 96 gigs for that, but it does have traditional power connectors such as the 24-pin and the 8-pin, so you can put this in a regular desktop setup. And it even has a full-size PCI Express slot, and it looks like all of these connections are connected, so it should be a 16-lane. Maybe it's PCI Express 4. I'm not entirely sure because it doesn't disclose it on the website, but it does look like this is going to be pretty good for putting into some sort of mini ITX system. Now, the GPU that's in here, I believe, is the Radeon 610, which is okay at gaming, right? Like 720p workloads, but you're getting a 16-core mobile processor. And while this isn't going to be the fantastic AI compute machine that the Framework Desktop is, this is also still advancing the same ethos of modular, customizable mini ITX PCs in the mini PC form factor, and I'm all here for it. So I've ordered one. I'll wait to see if it's any good. Once it comes in, we'll be sure to get you a video here on UFD Tech for all of that. But while I'm excited for this MinisForum product, a lot of people are excited for old tech from Nvidia because it has, guess what, more AI capabilities, adding VRAM to make it better at those large language models. There's rumors reporting that there might be a 96 gigabyte VRAM version of the 4090 in the works. This is on top of a 48 gigabyte VRAM version that allegedly has already existed for some time, but the 96 gigabyte version is in testing right now, and they just need to fix that and make sure it's ready to go before they release it to the consumer. Now, allegedly, the 48 gig version sells for around $3,000. Reports are the 96 gig version should be about double that, coming in at $5,000 to $6,000. Whether or not this is going to be fully retail, if they're going to release this to enterprise customers, if this is even going to hit Western shores here in the US, it's not quite clear. The rumors on this are pretty vague and ambiguous. It's not clear if this is, Nvidia driving this, or if this might be a third-party shop that might be trying to get this out there, but people wanting more VRAM from Nvidia just on different cards. And Nvidia is giving it on a last-gen card. However, AMD is giving it to you on this gen card, with reports coming out that the 9060 XT is expected to have both 8 and 16 gigabyte VRAM versions. So this is on top of the fact that the 9070 and 9070 XT are giving you 16 gigs, while the 5070 only gives you 12 gigs, and they're very comparable in total memory bandwidth. The 9060 XT looks to be giving you that amount of memory. However, there is a little bit of a caveat, because while people will point this as a W for AMD, giving us 16 gigabytes of VRAM, which is probably necessary in a mid-tier graphics card moving forward, Nvidia is also doing the same thing with the 5060 Ti, which these two are likely supposed to go head to head. Now, based on how the 9070s are performing and rumors that I've heard of the 9060 XT's performance, this should be about a 5070 to 5070 Ti level performance, and you're getting 16 gigabytes of VRAM, making it a completely different conversation than comparing it to the 5060 Ti. But there is one issue with the 9060's implementation of it, which is, based on what we know, this should be a 128-bit bus. And with AMD choosing to stay on GDDR6, the memory bandwidth of the 5060 Ti will be about 40% more than the 9060 XTs, whereas the 9070 and 9070 XT are about the same as the 5070. The 9060 XT, unless they somehow have a different bus than the 128-bit, it will be slower at the same price point, allegedly. You are getting that amount of VRAM, but if a 5060 Ti has 16 gigs and your VRAM bottlenecked, you're gonna have faster VRAM as well as that 16 gigs on the 5060 Ti. Whether or not that makes that worth it for the gamer, you're more than likely gonna be GPU performance limited than you are gonna be VRAM on a lot of titles with these classic cards, but if you are, then the Nvidia card will be slightly faster at that. And I'm not faster at releasing hot news because we got the review out of the 5070 yesterday. Didn't want to double post a hot news as well, so I got to get back to your comments on Friday's episode of Hot News because we didn't have it Tuesdays. We got L2 Impart saying AMD finally missed the opportunity to miss an opportunity, and we love them for it. OTG Sanguine saying they claim the 9070 XT is $150 cheaper than the 5070 Ti, but in reality, that gap can be up to $300. Insane. I hear you on that. I think that argument's wrong, just because the third-party cards of the 9070 XT are also going to be more expensive. Like, let's be clear, the 9070 XT might start at $599, but it will go up higher. It will go up to $699. It might even go up to $749, $799, especially if Asus decides to release a high-end version of it. So there are going to be expensive versions of the 9070 XT, but the 5070 Ti is not a $749 card. You can't really get that card hardly anywhere, but they're both not selling reference editions of these GPUs. So if tariffs are the reason why MSI is unlaunching their MSRP GPUs, that could be the same reason why 9070 XTs might not actually come in at this price point long term. They might raise prices after a little bit because of all of the tariff stuffs that are going on. And then Bad Dragonite with the $2 super thanks, I think is what it's called, the $2 comment saying, should I upgrade from my GT 1032 gigabyte model or just wait? And I gotta be honest, I agree with the commenter underneath, Rolf, saying it won't be a big enough jump, just wait for 2 more generations. Yeah, I think the RTX 7080 series would be good. Yeah. And then Brian Burke saying cannibalistic pricing on the non-XT 9070 at $550. Seems like they still haven't learned the 7900 XT lesson. 9070 XT at $600 might finally get them some market share back though. I hear you, and I heard a great counter argument to this because I've been thinking the same thing. Why are they only pricing it $50 less? Especially when you look at things like the Vega 56 and 64. There was a $100 gap between those two GPUs, whereas this is just not enough of a movement in order to make it so that you would buy the 9070. And the explanation I heard, which can make sense, but does require a little bit of guesstimation, is that AMD is using cut down versions of the 9070 XT and they don't have enough, right? So these are failed 9070 XT chips, the ones that couldn't quite get up to 64 compute units. Maybe they're 60, maybe they're 59, so they're being cut down to 56. And so AMD doesn't have enough stock of those, so they're trying to make sure people don't buy the 9070 if they don't have to. But if people want to save a buck, they can get the 9070. It exists. Maybe it's a logical explanation for why that's happening, besides AMD being ridiculous. And then looking at some of the comments from yesterday's video on the RTX 5070 review, we got Walter Riggs saying, imagine having 1.2 million subs and you get ignored by graphics card companies. Dude's a lot nicer than I would have been. We were ignored by Nvidia for some time, as mentioned. This is the first time in 10 years we had a review out on launch launch day. We have had access to things like the 2070 Super, and I think it was the 1660 Super or 1660 Ti ahead of launch, but that was through our retail connection through Wootware, and so we never had drivers ahead of time. This was the first time we had Nvidia press drivers. You know, things are changing on that front. AMD did reach out to us for the RX 9000 series, but they only wanted us to cover the Friday event. They didn't mention giving us a GPU at all, and they wanted me to sign an NDA in order to do that. Especially with what we cover here on Hot News, I feel like if I knew stuff ahead of time with what's going on at AMD's event, it would preclude me from being able to discuss it here at Hot News. So I opted out of signing that NDA so that I could continue to make Hot News episodes. So there is a bit of reasoning behind it. It's not just that they're ignoring us. Like, I am actively choosing to not play ball with them in order to continue our content the way that I've wanted to do it. I don't know if I'm necessarily a pariah, but I'm not certainly the easiest person to work with, because I am constantly talking about the things that they are trying to not get out ahead of time. And the Gonomy Leggy saying, man, this is really the time for AMD graphics to have a Ryzen moment. Fingers crossed the 9070 XT is close to what is promised. Same here. We'll know in a little bit as soon as those reviews come out. And then Jensen Huang, Nvidia CEO, gracing our comments saying, soon you won't even taste cheese. You'll just get an AI generated sensation of what cheese is. And there's going to be a higher delay from when the AI cheese hits your tongue to when your brain registers it. So there's going to be, like, you're going to feel the cheese on your tongue, but you're not going to taste it until a few milliseconds later. You're going to get weird input lag on it. It's going to be great. This is the future you wanted. Multi-frame gen's the future for sure. Anyways, for sure, hopefully there's going to be an episode of Hot News tomorrow, but there will not be one on Friday because I have to be in the hospital with my son. So limited episodes of Hot News this week, just 2, but we should hopefully have another video ready for you on Friday to check that out. Don't forget, we have the RTX 5080 PC giveaway going over on our Twitch channel. We have the Assassin's Creed Shadow PC that we're partnering with Falcon Northwest and Intel to give away. You can check that out in the link in the video description. And I'll see you in future videos. Bye, friends.